Hey, welcome back to the channel. It's been a long time since I've done a video. Sorry I've been away for so long. Just been really caught up in various different activities, all revolving around my teenage daughter. So it's been kind of hard to get out and do a video. Now I did try to get out and do one last week. I got this new gimbal, and you know, gimbals, like you watch videos on them, they say how easy they're going to be to balance, and then, you know, you put your cage on there, you put a little bit different lens on there, microphone, throw the screen out. Next thing you know, you can't get it balanced at all. It just becomes a frustrating mess. So I had planned to do a video last week, got out to a park to do some filming with my new gimbal, and couldn't get it balanced, and sat in my car for like 30 minutes, just cussing up a storm at the gimbal. And just decided, you know what, today's not the day. So I just gave up filming for that day because I couldn't get everything balanced on the gimbal. I don't know, man. Gimbals are just kind of try hard, if you ask me. I just don't know if I'm really comfortable using one or even really want one. But I bought it. I want to do a few videos on it, I think, and kind of see where it goes from there. But anyway, just for the future videos, keep an eye out for something on this gimbal and the M3 gimbal specifically. Now the main thing I want to talk about is the old Jefe here, old big guy, the Tamron 150 to 500 lens that I've been trying out for the last few weeks. I want to show you some of the video and the photos that I've taken with this lens over the last week or so. So first of all, let's start off with the understanding that this is the first super telephoto lens that I've ever owned or used. So all my experiences are based on this lens specifically. I don't know if other lenses do things better or worse. All I can tell you is how I feel about this lens, but all I can compare it to is lenses I've had in the past, which are just, you know, the typical 28 to 75 or, you know, lenses like that, the small prime lenses of that nature. I don't have a lot of experiences with the super telephoto lens. It's the first one I've ever used, so I can just tell you what my experiences with this lens are specifically. They may or may not be valid because I don't know. We can start off with the autofocus. The autofocus on this lens seems to be slow, and I think that has more to do with the extreme distances that it's trying to focus between. But it just seems to take a while to acquire focus. For the most part, it does a pretty decent job. If you start messing around with the focus limiter switch, you get a lot better results. But in general, I find it to be slow. And again, I'm comparing it to much smaller lenses. So I don't know if that's an issue with the lens or just an issue with telephoto lenses in general. But we want to talk about the stabilization in this lens. I'll start off with my A7 IV. And everything I shot was handheld, so you have to take that into consideration. So I started shooting with 30 frames per second, shooting videos. And what I noticed was there was a lot of the stabilization would kind of jerk around a lot. It looked like it was trying to catch in one spot, and then the lens would move, and then it would jerk down here, and then it would catch down here, and then it would jerk up there, and so on and so forth. So your video kind of had a random jumping around effect going on to it, which I found pretty distracting. So I don't think you're gonna be able to shoot 30 frames per second handheld with this video. It's just gonna jump around way too much. So I decided that I would go ahead and shoot 60 frames per second with this lens. And the problem with that is with the A7 IV is you get the APS-C crop, and now your 500 millimeter lens becomes 750 millimeters. It seems to just compound the problems, if you ask me. Like there was a kite hawk sitting way off in a tree across the yard. I got my A7 IV out in this lens. Of course, I was at 750 millimeters, trying to get as far out there as I could, and I could not hold it steady, and it was jumping around and everything. And I tried to brace my camera on a pole. That didn't work. And what made the stabilization even worse is the rolling shutter that comes along with the A7 IV. So the shot was moving around everywhere, and the branches in the tree, they're just doing jello effect, you know? So it was pretty much unusable as far as that goes. Now again, I think that that just has something to do with the crop factor on the A7 IV handheld. But you definitely, that footage was definitely not usable. I think I erased it. I erased that footage, or I didn't include it in the video, but trust me, it was really shaky, and the tree was doing all this, you know, the tree branches. It was just looking terrible. So I decided, you know what, I was going to ditch my A7 IV and use my A7S III. And the video is a little bit better with the A7S III than it is the A7 IV, even at 30 frames per second. But I decided, you know what, I'm just going to start off by shooting 60 frames per second, because I think that any kind of wildlife or birds you're going to be shooting, you're definitely going to want to be slowing that footage down. You know, it just doesn't, bird footage doesn't really look good unless it's slowed down, if you ask me. The only problem with moving from the A7 IV to the A7S III shooting birds is you don't have the bird autofocus, which is just the joys of being a Sony shooter. So I started shooting with the A7S III, this big old lens, just sitting on the porch, handheld. And I think the shots look pretty good there. Look pretty good. There's still a little bit of shaking going around. There's still a little bit of jumping in the footage. I don't know if it's just this lens in particular or just the function of super telephoto lenses in general. I'm sure everything would be much better on a tripod, but that's just not where I'm sitting. Now we can talk about some of the footage on this that I got. These hummingbirds are just really interesting to me. They're so fast, so hard to capture. And look at this guy's tongue right here. Had no idea that a hummingbird even does that. Like, sticks its tongue way out there. Kind of weird. Never knew it. Hummingbird could do that. But as you can see, you can get a pretty decent shot, pretty stable shot, even when the bird is off in the distance with the A7S III. Now these woodpeckers right here, like, oh yeah, bro, I'll pick that up. Don't worry about it. But I like shooting these woodpeckers. I mean, them birds are so skittish, they're hard to get a good shot of. They seem to move around a lot, and it kind of challenges the autofocus a little bit. But man, they're really neat, and to shoot video of and pictures of. Now we can talk about the photos I took a little bit. Like, everybody will tell you in the A7S III that it's not very good at taking photos. You don't want to crop in just the whole lot, but if you take a look at these two pictures right here, this is the original photo, and I was able to crop in this much on that photo and got a pretty nice little sharp image of that hummingbird. So while you can't crop in just a ton, there is a little bit of room to crop in on the A7S III. So if anybody tries to tell you that the A7S III is just trash for photos, they're not being right with you. Now you lose that crop mode, APS-C mode in your camera when you're taking pictures and photos, and that becomes a big deal to me, like when I'm doing sports events and stuff like that, because I like using that crop mode where I can just hit a button, punches in, and then I can hit a button and then it punches back out. You're losing that, but if you just want to punch in on a photo that you've already taken, there is a little bit of room there. So the A7S III is good for that. And these are just a couple of photos that I've taken in the backyard of hummingbirds. And the macro capabilities of this lens are pretty good. You can get pretty close to your subject and take a pretty nice picture. But anyway, that's just kind of a short overview of the Tamron 150-500. Not sure if I want to keep this lens or not. And the reason is because I'm just not sure, 100% sure, if it's just something I'm going to be using just a whole lot. Again, I bought it to take pictures at sporting events. Turns out that I don't even need a lens at this much telephoto reach. So I don't know if it's actually needed. Now, I have enjoyed using it, filming stuff in my backyard and other things, but it's just not something that I just don't know if I'm gonna be using this lens that much. Like, you're definitely not gonna just have this one randomly in your bag because it's so big and heavy. I mean, you're gonna have to go out specifically to use this lens or have a specific shot in mind for a lens like this. It's just so big and so heavy. So jury's still out if I'm going to keep it. Now, I did was thinking about, you know, sending it back and ordering the 50 to 400 that Tamron has coming out. Some of the early footage I've seen out of it, it seems to have the same jumping around problems as the 150 to 500. And while it has a better focal, you know, more useful focal length, you know, if a lens is going to be doing that, I'd probably just assume skip that one. Maybe that's something they can work out in firmware or not. But in general, I think if I was going to do it all over again, I would just get the 100 to 400 Sony and be done. Anyway, just a quick little video today. Hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. And I want to get that gimbal lined out, and we're going to do a few videos on that. I don't know if I'm going to make it through it or not, but we'll see. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.